So I've been watching the new Wendy Williams documentary. Um, it's called "Where Is Wendy?" It's about her life, and it's far too long a story to go into the entire background of the story. You'll have to look it up if you're interested. But I think actually it's a really important documentary. At first, I thought it was going to be like this monstrous, like media onslaught of like, oh, let's like take a laugh at like the latest one that's fallen off the wagon sort of thing. But in fact, after having watched it, I think it's actually a really important documentary. It really highlights some very important issues that we're all dealing with at the moment, I think, in today's culture, or what have you, like such as manipulation, gaslighting, um, falsity, abuse of power, and things like that, and how this poor woman has really been taken advantage of. Also, what I found really interesting about it is it really kind of presents things in such a way that allows the viewer to really make up their mind about what is actually going on. Like it presents the characters in and kind of reveals them from both sides. I say the characters, I mean the people who are in the documentary with her. And it kind of it doesn't present them in with such a duality kind of narrative, kind of like, you're the good guy, you're the bad guy. It presents them in all their colors, all their splendor. And it's up to us almost as the viewer to really decide, well, what do we think of this situation? What do we think of this person? Um, See them in all different kinds of light. And I think that's quite original because often we really portray certain characters either one way or the other. The truth is, we're all like multi-dimensional, multifaceted people with many different colors to our personality and stuff. And I think it's all about how you use certain things as opposed to like, oh, you're definitely this type of person or you're that. I think it's important to categorize and stereotype on one level because it helps our mind really understand the world in to make sense of it all. But ultimately beyond that is just chaotic, and people can represent all different kind of things. I think that was really reflected well in the Wendy Williams documentary because, for example, they had this one scene where Wendy was in her apartment and they had the publicist and her niece together, and they were both telling two sides of the story. Like the niece was really concerned about Wendy and like um, her health and her condition and all that kind of thing and her emotional state. And the publicist was obviously, more involved in the business things. She said she was taking on some managerial roles and stuff like that. So initially you think, oh, well, the niece is family, like she cares more, and the publicist is only in it for money or whatever. But the deeper then you look on the other side, you're like, well, maybe the niece is actually trying to have some coercive control over Wendy. She's really like best mates with like the what's it the guardian, the guy who's the guardian. And then the publicist, who originally was like, oh, she's in it for the money, was like, well, actually, I'm going to be your best friend and I'm going to take you out of this mess and this controlling, manipulative situation for 5 minutes when, they went to LA from New York for the weekend or for a couple of weeks or whatever. And they were like, okay, now we're just going to chill. You can be yourself and not be worried about all of this mess. And like the guardian and the niece are ringing up and be like, "How could you take Wendy away? Like, she taking her out, or you letting her drink alcohol and stuff like." She's a grown woman and she can do what she wants. But basically, that's what she wanted to do. That was a choice that she made, and frankly, she was just enjoying herself and having a nice time. And the publicist is trying to help her, like, give that part of herself. And they're going, "Oh, they're all saying about her, you're an enabler. It was so interesting because it really showed two sides of the story. Like, I really feel like so many people, when in those kind of situations, have been brainwashed to feel like, oh, if you're friends with an addict or if you're supporting it, you're an enabler, when actually maybe you're just being a friend. And like in many respects, like when you're in recovery or when you're an addict, like that whole circle can be very cultish and they really drive a lot of your friends and family away who are just trying to stand by you. by saying, oh, by being friends with this person, you're going to enable them to keep using and all this, that, and the third. And actually, what they're doing is just isolating you and sending all these people away and out of your circle so that they can take control over your life. And that's what was happening in this Wendy Williams situation. So I think that was documented so well. It's such an important documentary and docu series. If you're interested in these themes and these topics, because and even the whole relationship with the guardian and like she's a guardian, she's like a 50 something year old woman, you know. I could tell she's not 100% right. I mean, it would take a genius to not work that one out. I don't know what she's got, some issues going on, but like, and they were trying to get her back on TV, and they were like, oh no, she's not well enough to be on TV. But it could be that she's at such a level of fame that TV is her medicine, like doing her job and whatever is her medicine. And it's like, so what? She's had a drink. She was having a martini or whatever it was, Grey Goose. And like, it was kind of like, oh, you've fallen off the wagon. You're a recovery. You're not allowed to do that. You should not be drinking. And it's like, let her do what she wants. So what? She can have a drink. What she is, I don't really, I think that AA and NA and all those institutions are really, really helpful if you're an addict in recovery and trying to. The 12-step program is amazing. I actually recommend it to everybody. But also, we're all adults, and if someone chooses to have a drink, it wasn't destructive. She wasn't being destructive. She was just having a cocktail, and she was absolutely fine. And this is like speaking out against all that coercive control. It's coercive control, and it's a cult. It becomes a cult, and it's brainwashing, and it's weird. Anyway, so she is not doing, and basically it's just isolating them and sending all their friends away. And so anyway, I could go on about it for a while, but Wendy Williams, I always really loved her show. And this isn't saying anything bad against anyone that is going through that. And if they're happy and it's working for you, then more power to you. That's great. But if you're an adult who has been in recovery for a long time, like Wendy was, I think she was sober for like 20 years or 30 years, and then suddenly feels like she wants to drink again or do that again. I think that's her prerogative, and it's entirely up to her. And it didn't seem to me like it was being destructive. I think maybe getting back into TV would help her mental state as well, because obviously she's got a lot of time on her hands and she seems a bit lost. She does have good people around her. She does have a team around her. But this documentary did actually make me question, like, who is actually for her and who is not, you know, and to look a bit deeper there. But I wish you well, Wendy. I'm a big fan. I love you. I see you. And I wish you all the best. Lots of love. Also, it really raises the question for me, like, is once an addict, always an addict? Is that still an adage? Like, if you're a participant in organizations such as NA or CNA or AA, they believe that once an addict, always an addict. I don't believe that actually. I think you go into recovery for a certain amount of time, and I think you just move on and get on with your life. And okay, you can. I'm not going to speak for everybody. You do you. You know what I'm saying? That's up to you. That really is up to you. But the thing is, it's kind of like I do believe that certain people or whoever you are, it's about your own situation. You can really move out from that and then just enjoy the balance of it like a quote unquote normal person. Yeah, I think that's an interesting discussion to have.